I love animated anthology movies. Memories, Short Piece, Neo Tokyo, and even stuff like Fantasia are pretty good. I also remember watching Halo Legends a while back, and that one wasn't too bad either. Yeah, I know, most of the ones I enjoy are from Japan. And it's not that I have anything against the West, I just really enjoy how the Japanese do it. And yes, I have seen heavy metal, and I don't really care for that one. I've cracked quite a few jokes at its expense on this channel, and while I can safely say I don't hate it nearly as much as I used to, it's not really one I have a lot of respect for. Now, I love animated short stories with violence and dashes of eroticism as much as the next guy, but I personally never felt that the short stories in heavy metal went anywhere meaningful. I mean, I want them to continue, and then they just stop. They don't feel complete. The art style is really good with a soundtrack to match, but it's just not my thing. But hey, as much as I rag on heavy metal, I'll tell you who hates it. Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I'm not joking. Even though they made that episode of South Park called Major Boobage, they are not fans of heavy metal.
Because, people are like, that's cool, you did heavy metal, you're heavy metal fans. It's like, no, I think it sucks. I thought it sucked when I was 10 or whatever when it came out. I think it sucks now. I guess I get it that it was what it was, but
I think I had better recollections of it.
Yeah,
it's one of those things like, oh yeah, that was awesome.
Because
you've been
watch
told
it,
it's awesome.
like, really?
We all remembered heavy metal, and then we went back and watched it.
Yeah, we all sat down and said, all right, let's sort of see creatively what happens here so that we can follow kind of the plot lines, and then we realized that nothing happens, and you can't follow it.
And there's only like 3 or 4 really great, iconic sequences in heavy metal. You go, oh yeah, that's what I remember. That part I remember.
It's a really bad movie.
However, the criticisms I applied to heavy metal do not apply to today's topic, Robot Carnival. Robot Carnival got its start when its producer Kazufumi Nomura of APPP Animation Studio was looking to get a project off the ground. Nomura asked Koji Morimoto for advice. Koji Morimoto would go on to direct Franken's Gears in Robot Carnival, as well as work on other projects like Macross Do You Remember Love, and even direct Magnetic Rose for Memories. They tossed a lot of ideas around, and then decided to do something similar to Labyrinth Tales, aka Neo Tokyo, where it would be a short story anthology where the animators would have total creative freedom, and they wouldn't be beholden to sponsor input. What began as a 45-minute OVA turned into a 90-minute OVA, with robots being the main focus. Well, it was either that or girls. Various people from Labyrinth Files came on board, including their friends. Again, each artist had the freedom to make whatever they wanted, and each short took between 9 months to 2 years to complete. Despite Nomura's difficulty in keeping up with each team, and the project falling behind schedule, the production seemed to go pretty well. There was a kind of hope going on with the project that, if successful, it would give animators more freedom to create more original works that were not beholden to sponsor input. But sadly, that was not to be the case. Robot Carnival bombed in Japan, and sadly, so did Labyrinth Tales, even though that was finished before Robot Carnival and was released after Robot Carnival. However, it didn't die. Robot Carnival found more success in the West. It was distributed by Streamline Pictures, founded by Carl Macek and Jerry Beck. And while it did okay in art house theaters, it found bigger success on home video, selling them first in comic book shops, and later on in other video chains, and even showings on the Sci-Fi Channel. Now, the order of the shorts that I'm drawing from is the one presented in the original Japanese release. On the Blu-ray, there are 3 different versions of this film, each one with the shorts in different order, and I will get to those in just a moment. The opening and ending sequences are directed by Katsuhiro Otomo and Atsuko Fukushima. It's delightful in how destructive it is, with the logo basically trampling everyone and everything in its path. Like it's saying, I'm here, I'm awesome, and I'm definitely going to destroy you. The Robot Carnival logo here kind of feels like a prototype for the Steam Castle and Steam Boy. That's just my observation anyway. Anyway, this short picks up later at the end. Next, we have Franken's Gears, directed by Koji Morimoto. The short is simple enough, a mad scientist wanting to bring his robot to life, and he carries what looks like a globe on his back. So I'm assuming he's wanting to make an army of robots for world domination. Like a lot of the other shorts in Robot Carnival, this one features no dialogue and has only music to accompany it. The music for Robot Carnival was composed by the great Joe Hisaishi, who has scored nearly every movie by Hayao Miyazaki. My favorite score of his being Howl's Moving Castle, by the way. Except for Cloud, which was composed by Isaku Fujita, Hisaishi met with every filmmaker to get a feel with what the shorts were, while keeping it all uniform with the theme of the anthology. Anyway, Franken's Gears ends on a hilarious note. The creature comes alive and stands up for a little bit, only to fall down and crush his master. Next short, Deprive, is basically a music video, directed by Hidetoshi Omori. It's about a robot whose only purpose was to guard and protect a little girl, who was kidnapped by evil invading robots. and he's on a quest to get her back. This one is my least favorite of the bunch. I mean, it's well made and it's action-packed, but there is another short coming up which has a similar idea but I think was done a little better. The next one is probably the best one of the bunch. It's called Presence. This one is directed by Yasuomi Umetsu. If that name sounds familiar, that's because he created Kite and Mezzoforte. No, this one's not pervy, I promise. Presence is one of 2 shorts that actually contains dialogue, and this is the one with the fullest narrative. I will say though that the English dub for this isn't too bad.
Of course, my family knows nothing about it. I suppose I could trace it all the way back to my childhood. I never knew my mother, never experienced the warmth of parental love and understanding.
You see, I want someone to love me, and for that I need a name.
What? Why did you say that? How could you say that? I never programmed you to say those words.
And I was surprised to hear this, and I really shouldn't have been, but for anime distribution in the late 80s and early 90s, they absolutely had to dub these things into English to get them released.
The idea of a Japanese cartoon in a theater with subtitles was, well, it didn't happen before. It never happened at that time. The attitude, not only by movie distributors, but by the theater owners, was with a cartoon, no matter how sophisticated or R-rated it is, it's a cartoon. There's this perception in this country, the United States, that cartoons are for kids. The idea of a cartoon with subtitles was something they just would not play. They would not do it. We had to dub them.
And to their credit, Carl Masick and Jerry Beck did work to keep their releases as close as possible to the original, even when dubbing them into English. Anyway, Presence is about a man who works as an inventor, who is in a unhappy marriage, or at least an unfulfilling one, to a hard-working career woman who is dynamic and assertive, whereas he is more withdrawn. And he is working in secret to create a robot woman, but becomes frightened when she starts to become more and more human right in front of his eyes.
Make me feel that I'm alive. Talk to me. For what purpose do I exist? To be alone is to be in pain.
A machine feels no pain. A machine can't feel at all. You'll never know the sensual pleasure of a fine meal, or possess a real identity of your own.
You believe that you know your own desires and dreams better than anyone. I want to experience life, the excitement of living, for myself.
We later learn when he is an old man that he is reflecting on all this, and he destroyed her when he became frightened, and he's sitting in his chair living with regret. He seems to be very lonely despite having family that does come and visit him. When he created the robot girl, here was his opportunity to experience and give a kind of parental love that he missed from his own mother. And for one reason or another, he is not able to experience or give in his real life family. But sadly, he became fearful of his creation and the responsibilities connected with it. It is also clear though that in many ways, he's still very much a child at heart. But as he's reflecting on all this, the robot girl comes to him and takes him away? That could be what happened, but what's more likely is that he lost his mind and then wandered off somewhere else and probably was never seen since. That's sad. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Presence is my favorite of all the shorts. The story is very simple and yet very haunting. Combined with the art style, the eerie stillness, and the score by Joe Hisaishi, which feels very reminiscent of his early works with Miyazaki, Presence alone is worth purchasing a ticket to Robot Carnival. The next short is Starlight Angel. Now, I think this one is a little bit better than Deprive, and I'll explain why. This one is directed by Hiroyuki Kitazume. This one also functions like a music video, but it does have a story you can follow. It involves 2 friends at a theme park. When the redhead here runs into an old flame that broke her heart, she runs off. Earlier she dropped her amulet, which contains the guy's picture, and this robot, not knowing what it is, tries to return it to her, only it ends up causing more suffering. Yes, there is this whole thing where he saves her from a giant robot monster and such, but what I think really happened is, the robot was really a guy who just showed up at the right time to try to clear up some misunderstandings and shows her a good time at the park. I take this to be the case because at the end of the short, she's with him. Okay, there's a lot of things that are different between this and Deprive, but it had a similar idea of a good robot saving the girl from another bad robot, even if it was a bit more metaphorical in this case. But I like the fact that there was more going on in this short, and it tells it really well visually. Now the next short, Cloud, is directed by Mal Lamdo. The best way I can describe this, it's like it's a moving scroll. It's about a lonely robot boy who wanders on through the ages in different environments against different cloudy backdrops. To be honest, I actually don't know what this one is about. And that's okay. It's a mood piece. You sit down and watch it and just let it wash all over you. Not everything has to be explained. Now this next one is just pure fun. It's called Strange Tales of Meiji Machine Culture. It was directed by Hiroyuki Kitakubo with character designs by Yoshiyuki Sadamoto. It involves an evil robot piloted by a Westerner looking to destroy the city, and some local kids piloting their own are looking to stop him, but they end up causing a lot of havoc. I love how the robots themselves are about as low-tech as you can go. They're made of wood, brick, run on fuels such as coal or wood, and just about everything can go wrong. And they do. As they fight each other, each one begins to fall apart in different ways. This is the only other short in Robot Carnival that has any dialogue. While the dub in Presence was not too bad, this one is not great.
Destroy! Destroy! Let this heathen's haven be smashed to pieces! It's in our hands! My beautiful automaton! My walking doll! My Tinkerbell! Enough's enough! That's it! The time has come to defend our honor!
Yeah, you ready?
Sure, but I don't think this machine was built to defend anyone's honor.
She's right. This machine was built for the parade.
That's our point, you nitwit!
All that aside, the dub doesn't actually ruin anything. It's still a lot of fun to watch. Now this last one is strange. It's called Chicken Man and Redneck, and it's directed by Takeshi Nakamura. It's about a man who wakes up in an alley in Tokyo only to discover that the city is changing to look like a robotic hellscape, complete with armies of robots that look like demons, and his quest on a bike to get away from, I'm assuming this robot is called Redneck. I have to say, this short really reminds me of Dark City, and that is a compliment. Where John Murdoch is awake and everybody else is asleep in the city and the strangers are changing it to their needs. Of course, when the day breaks, the evil robots and most of their changes seem to just go away. Kinda reminds me of Night on Bald Mountain from Fantasia. We now come to the end, where the Robot Carnival castle can't get up a hill and completely falls apart. Fitting, I suppose, but its mayhem is not over yet. A wanderer in the desert picks up a silver ball and shows it to a poor family, who I assume are some of the survivors of the first attack. It opens up to reveal a clockwork dancer, which at first is to the delight of everyone until it blows everybody the fuck up. Kaboom! The end. Now, as I stated, there are 3 versions of Robot Carnival, with the shorts playing in different orders. Apart from the Japanese release version, which is the order of the shorts I used, the first one is the theatrical release version. Now the shorts for this version had to be rearranged in order to fit on fewer 35mm reels, so they can ship them out properly to art house theaters. Shorts in this version are as follows: Opening, Franken's Gears, Starlight Angel, Cloud, Deprive, Presence, Strange Tales of Meiji Machine Culture, Chicken Man and Redneck, and End. The Laserdisc release in the United States had a similar issue. I'm not sure if it was the same issue in Japan. Due to the limitations of storage on each side of the CLV or extended play discs, the shorts were arranged as follows: Opening, Starlight Angel, Cloud, Deprive, Franken's Gears, Presence, Strange Tales of Meiji Machine Culture, Chicken Man and Redneck, and Ending. Producer Kazufumi Nomura approved of this change. Now, I admit I don't love Robot Carnival as much as Memories. I'll admit I have a bit of a bias there, as Memories was the first Japanese animated anthology film that I ever saw. Robot Carnival is still a joy to watch. While each short has varying degrees of narrative depth, they are all satisfying on their own terms, even if I prefer some over others. In fact, my favorites are Franken's Gears, Cloud, and Presence. They are all made with considerably high skill and passion, and I'm glad it was able to live on even after its initial failure in Japan. It's pretty safe to call this a true otaku classic, and I highly recommend it.